listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Well, happy Monday, everyone. Thank you for spending some time with us today. I am being closely monitored and supervised.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Some of you might think I'm kidding a little bit about that, but the reality is she does keep a close eye on me.
It's my job.
Lots of things going on in the world today. If you live along the Gulf Coast of the United States, you might want to keep an eye out. Apparently there's a hurricane. It had one chance to become a hurricane, and it's going to happen, apparently. So be watchful for that. And as usual, things are happening in the Middle East, but it'll be taken care of. If you hear something odd this morning that comes across, Susie's down here with us, the 17-week-old now, puppy. So she's laying here chewing on something. And a couple things she has does squeak. So if you hear that, that's what it is. If you do happen to like the rest of what you hear, though, don't be afraid of the share buttons and like buttons. Check out GiveGod90.com, authorjerrymitchell.com. All kinds of good stuff coming up that I'll let you know about here in a couple weeks. And I want to say that when I look at the statistics they put out on Sunday mornings through Spreaker, it kind of amazes me. Lots and lots more people showing up. And because of that, because there's so many new folks, and not all of them might be familiar with what I'm going to talk about today. This might be a review for some of you. We're going to look at Leviticus 23 again. And what better time? You know, it's fall, and the fall feasts are my favorite. But it's something that we need to be aware of, and quite honestly, if you stick around, you might learn something you've never learned before. Regular listeners know that the writer of Hebrews, whether it was Paul or somebody else, he reminds us that in Hebrews 10:1, the law contains an unclear picture of good things coming in the future. Now, it's not the perfect picture. It's kind of fuzzy, kind of hazy, but what he's saying is there's something in it that shows us good things coming. Now, there's a lot of people out there that think this is kind of restricted to Leviticus 23, but that's not where it begins, and it's not where it ends. The feasts that are outlined in Leviticus get their origins. Are you ready for this? Genesis 1:14. Let there be light in the expanse of the sky to distinguish between the day and the night. Let them be signs to mark seasons and days in a year. The word season here is not season. The Hebrew word is modim, and it actually means appointed times. Now, the writer of Hebrews understood these appointed times are the unclear pictures. They're the fuzzy pictures. Some people call them shadow pictures of good things to come. They establish that the Creator's telling us, I'm appointing some times when I expect you to meet with me, right? And if he's telling us that he's giving us these times, then good things should be the result of that. Leviticus 23 outlines these times. Later, we get other parameters for how our Creator wants us to approach these times. And again, I know this is a review for some. Bear with me. Not everybody knows this. Not everybody's familiar with it. And even those who think they might be, well, I know everything, right? No, because everybody's always learning, I hope, right? Hopefully everybody's always learning. If you consider observing them, if you consider observing them, I think you'll be surprised at what happens. And I think you might be surprised if you stick with me till I'm done today, what you might learn anyway. Really, because these feasts begin this year in just a few days. Today's what, the 23rd? So 10, 11, 12 days, something like that. I'm going to start looking at these in a way that some of you may have heard this before, some may not, but I'm going to add some things to it that are probably going to surprise you. Surprised me. Now, I'm going to be the first to say that we can't actually guard these feasts the way they were intended to be guarded originally. Because of sin entering the world, we really don't have a good grasp of how they were actually first initially intended. All we know is after Moses, after Egypt, after the golden calf, this is what we have. What they were supposed to be originally in the beginning, we don't know. We'll probably find that out on the new earth. But for now, this is what we have. We can't do them precisely, but we can observe them. And I'll speculate much like the exiles may have done while they were in Babylon. We do the best we can with what we've got. Leviticus 23 actually begins with the weekly Sabbath, not the one that the Christians observe today, but the one that the Creator established at creation, and he confirmed it in Exodus 20, verse 8. He tells us to guard his Sabbath, not ours. Then he goes into the spring feast, and they're outlined. He gives the dates for them. And just before he does this, we read something in the original that we don't read in our English translations. Verse 2 of Leviticus 23, he says, "These are my feasts," and that is thus saith our Creator, right? The word feast here, again, is moedim. It's his appointed times. He's saying, these are my times. These are the times that I have already established that I want to come celebrate with you. That's what he's saying. So the writer of Hebrews looks not only at Leviticus 23, he looks at Genesis chapter 1 and other places as well. And he says, you know what, if we come together with the Almighty on these dates, something good's going to come out of it. Might not look like it right away, but something good's going to come out of it. But since it's fall, and hopefully you're going to be getting ready for some of these appointed times, let's look at the first one mentioned.
Again, the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the people of Israel, on the first day of the 7th month, you must have a special day of rest. There will be a holy meeting. Blow the trumpet for a special time of remembering. Do not do any work, and bring an offering made by fire to the Lord." Leviticus chapter 23, verse 23 through 25.
All right. So the first day of the 7th month, not the 7th month on the calendar we use today, but the 7th month on the Creator's calendar. Some people call it Jewish calendar. That's not exactly accurate either, but it's close. The 7th biblical month. Counting of the months, of course, begin in the spring. And it doesn't begin with what a lot of people call the Jewish New Year, right? It's because that's in the fall. And it actually does coincide with this. To really dig into this, we need to know and understand that the first day of the month officially begins, and I say officially begins, right? When the first light of the new moon is observed by 2 or more witnesses. Now, the practice of doing this is not actually outlined in the Bible because it just tells us to observe the new moon. Later, we read that it was the Creator himself who gave David the temple services. And certain things and practices were established. All right. So it would prevent any conflict of days. So, if maybe it was cloudy in one part of Israel, but not in the other, you could see the moon there, but not in other places. They established a practice where in Jerusalem, two people would go to, if they saw the new moon, the renewed light on the moon, they would go to the temple, alert the priests, and it became standard. It was their way of ensuring that the whole nation would be on the same calendar, right? Once that was done, once they had asked these two witnesses, certain questions, and they were satisfied, then the lights, the fires, the signal fires would be lit, and it would carry the notice that the new month had begun across the nation. Something we need to understand is that this particular day of rest comes on a day that no one knows except the Creator. Isn't that amazing? Why would it be that he would say, I'm going to give you a appointed day, but I'm not going to tell you exactly when it is, other than it's the first day of the 7th month? Well, you would have to then watch for the signs, wouldn't you? You would watch the moon so you knew if it was waxing or waning, and you knew when it would be what we call about dark, when the last light of the moon would be visible, and then it's dark for a day or so. And then when you can see it again, that's what would establish the first day of the month. You'd have to watch for the signs. You have to see what's going on. Now, I need to explain something here. I say that I study the Bible forensically, and that means we look for common words, common phrases, where they're at, how often they're used, where they're used, what context they're used in. And the next thing you look for are things that elude or give us clues to these things, right? So there's things in the New Testament that are direct quotes from the Old Testament. There's things in the Old Testament that might not be direct quotes in the New Testament, but they're very close. And then there are things that we see like this. We watch for the signs, right? We have to see what's going on. And then we're able to say, this is a clue. This is a clue about what's happening. It's kind of like what's going on in our world today, right? It kind of seems like we're in this dark period because there's so much evil in the world. It's like, I've heard people say, why has God turned his back on us? It just seems like he's hiding. We're kind of in the dark, so to speak. And we all know what comes in the dark, right? If you're not familiar with that, Myra's going to read a couple passages here.
Do not do the things that people in darkness do. That brings nothing good, but do good things to show that the things done in the darkness are wrong. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11. There are people who fight against the light. God's ways are strange to them, and they do not stay in the lighted path. When the light of day is gone, the murderer gets up. He kills poor and needy people. At night he goes about like a thief. The person who is guilty of adultery watches for the night. He thinks no one will see me, and he keeps his face covered. Job chapter 24, verses 13 through 15.
Seems kind of like what's going on today, doesn't it? There seems to be some dark times at hand, but If we're watching the signs, if we know when the moon is dark, it's dark just before the light shines on it once again. And we know how our Creator, He works things, right? It must have seemed really dark to Noah's family. Things were bad then, right? As in the days of Noah. It probably seemed like a very, very dark time to the Israelites in Egypt. But what happened next? It was kind of miraculous, wasn't it? Noah, he's told to build the ark and save mankind. That was kind of miraculous. When the Israelites were in Egypt, they cried out. The Almighty met with Moses on Mount Sinai. Said, go get them. Go bring them back to me. That was kind of miraculous. So what would be so important that we should be watching for the signs of these new moons today? Well, Myra's going to read this next passage when she's done playing with the puppy.
No one knows when that day or time will be. Even the Son and the angels in heaven do not know. Only the Father knows. When the Son of Man comes, it will be the same as what happened during Noah's time. Matthew chapter 24, verse 36 and 37.
Now, regular listeners know I don't get into eschatology, at least not very much. However, many people believe when the Messiah shows up to rule with a rod of iron, it will be on the first day of the 7th biblical month, because that's just the way God does things. We don't know what year it will be. Have no clue. Not even going to speculate. I don't think it will be this year because there's got to be a lot that has to happen prior to that. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. We could see the man of perdition sit on the mercy seat between now and the first day of this. We got 12 days. That's a long time, and a lot of things are going on in the land of Israel right now. I really don't think so, but I'm human. I could be wrong. But we need to watch for the signs. We need to see what's going on. Because when we figure it out, how to look and see what's going on, we realize it's about the how, not about the when. You see, our Creator will do things when He's ready to do them, not when we're ready for Him to do them, right? So we wait, we watch, we practice. We're told on the first day of the 7th month, we're to blow the trumpet, or at least that's what it says in English. In Hebrew, the word is turah, to shout. Just like the Israelites did when they marched around Jericho, and then on the 7th day they shouted. It's the same word. Same word. The Feast of Trumpets is Yom Teruah, the day of shouting. Now, a lot of people will blow the shofar, they'll celebrate, they'll eat their apples and honey and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine because it's a celebration. It's supposed to be a celebration because this celebration ushers in the next feast. See, a day that the light of the new moon will be seen, the darkness begins to dissolve. It's a day of hope. It's a day that ushers in a new beginning. It's a time when we look at things not with fear, not with dread, not with anxiety, but with anticipation, with hope, and with trust that our Creator is in control. It's a day that we look forward to in a way. It's also a day that we look at and say, when this happens, everybody is going to know it. It's not going to be a pretty time. But like we said in our last podcast, God wins. And it's not when he wins, it's how he wins. It's not if, because we've already been told the answer. We know he wins. We know what's going to occur eventually, but it's the how we get there. You know, I know people going through cancer treatments right now. Many of them have a very, very good outlook. And there's going to be some hard days for them. One person we know is, she is sick a lot. But the outlook, the hope is there. And that's what we have in the world right now. And that's one of the reasons this feast is so important. It's the hope that is there. It's the trust we put in the Almighty that is there. It's the how. It's the how. You know, when you put in a hard day's work, at the end of the day, you're kind of sore and stiff, and things might not feel or work the way they did when you woke up that morning. But it's the how you achieved it. It was worth it. It's worth the fight. It's worth the race, as Paul says. You got to run the race all the way to the end. He doesn't say halfway through you get in the golf cart and ride to the finish line. He said you keep going, you keep striving. And that hope is what keeps us going. That hope is there for a reason. The first day of the 7th month, Yom Teruah, is that hope for our future. It is a new beginning every fall. I'll continue with the fall feasts, maybe not Thursday, but certainly next Monday. There's something I want to kind of look at Thursday that is sort of associated, but not really. So we'll see you on Thursday.
On Thursday?
And until then, we do wish you many, many blessings, everyone.
Yes, we do.